Fleming tells us Bloomington poll workers had a problem this year, and it wasn't long hours or aggressive voters, but electioneering, where someone tries to influence voters right before they cast their ballot.
In Bloomington elections this year, there were several electioneering incidents at polling places. No candidates tried to intimidate voters in person, but people are accused of putting political signs too close to several polling places. The Bloomington Election Commission received several calls from voters and election judges about this. Different authorities have their own ways of dealing with the out-of-place signs. It's difficult to establish who has committed violations. Bloomington leaders say that after violating signs had been hidden from view, a short time later, they were back. Taking care of electioneering violations pulls election judges away from other jobs.
I need my election judges serving as election judges, not babysitting signs. So the more that I take away from inside to watch the outside, then I've got lines forming and people getting agitated because they're waiting in line to vote.
McLean County, which has a different election authority than the city of Bloomington, had a couple minor instances of electioneering reported as well.
It gives a fair chance for a voter, not to see so many signs when they're first coming into a polling location, so they're just not intimidated. There should be a campaign-free zone.
This activity is illegal in the state of Illinois. There is no specific penalty for this behavior, but if a situation with election judges escalated, law enforcement could be brought in. In McLean County, Taylor Fleming, 25 News.